Welcome back, everyone, to the Frum Health Club podcast. I'm your host, Mando Krashinsky. Here at the Frum Health Club, we believe that health isn't separate from our Yiddishkeit. It's all part of it. When we strengthen our health, we become better able to serve Hashem, our families, and our communities with energy and joy. Today, we're honored to welcome Rabbi Yisroel Rosenbaum, a rabbi, financial advisor, and Ironman athlete. During COVID, Yisroel began running simply to stay active. That small step grew into triathlon, then Ironmans, and he completed his first Ironman in Busselton. And a year later, after his second full Ironman, he qualified for the Ironman World Championships. Just 2 weeks ago, he competed in Nice, France, in what was truly a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Traditionally, the World Championships is held on Shabbos, making participation impossible for a Frum Yid. But in 2025, the men's race in Nice fell on a Sunday, allowing Yisroel to stand proudly at the starting line, representing both Australia and Klal Yisroel. Yisroel's journey is about more than medals or finish lines. It's about building extraordinary fitness, living with vibrant health, and showing how strengthening the body can deepen our ability to serve Hashem with energy and joy. Yisroel, welcome to the Frum Health Club podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Wonderful. Awesome. So Yisroel, if you can share with us a bit about your background and, your journey and how you got to, where you are right now.
Yeah. So triathlon was never something I grew up with at all. It's something which really only started, like you mentioned, over COVID. So growing up in Melbourne, Australia, there's a massive sporting culture in general in Australia. I've got 10 siblings, so we used to play cricket in the back garden until it was too dark to see the ball, or someone had hit the ball over the fence and we'd run out of tennis balls. So we're always active at home. In the school I went to, we had some inter-schools. It didn't happen too often, but we had a yearly sports carnival, like athletics day. But I was going to Cheder on a Sunday, so there was nothing really competitive or anything on higher level than just having fun. And then, as you mentioned, around COVID, that's when I was sitting around and I bought my first pair of runners and started running a bit, and then everything took off from there. I remember when I first started, I think back to it and think, wow, the 3 or 5K or 7K runs, they were big. But now it's all developed every day, just doing something else. And very, very lucky for it to progress how it progressed, and being able to stay injury free also. It's helped me to, as you mentioned, compete in France 2 weeks ago at the World Championships, which was just it's still so surreal.
Wow, that's incredible. Did you, looking back, did you ever imagine that you qualify the World Championships and even participate in the World Championships?
Yeah, so that was funnily enough, it was never a dream. When I started triathlon, I just did it to test myself. Started off small, got bigger, and progressed to the full Ironman distance. But then when I finished it, I was like, okay, well, I want to do that challenge again. It wasn't necessarily I need to be at the World Championships to perform. And the way it all came about was through qualifying through my age group. And I in the first year I did my first Ironman. So they give out the slots the day after the race, and you have to be there to accept it. And the first time I I completed the Ironman, I flew home on the Monday, so I wasn't at that roll down ceremony. And then the next time when I did it, I was at the roll down ceremony, and I was able to get the last slot in my age group,
Wow.
and that's kind of when it really dawned on me, and I was like, wow, like this is something which I never even thought of, because obviously you have the aspect of it on the Shabbos, and I got on my phone and I'm looking up, okay, what date is it? It looks like it's close to Rosh Hashanah. It's just a week before. Okay, it's going to be okay. And then the next thing was, okay, the bike course is pretty steep and technical. Started looking at that, and then I'm like, oh, do I want to do it? But then that's when I was like, well, I have an opportunity here that is, a once in a lifetime. I qualified for this year in Nice. Who knows what's going to happen after that. So that's when the World Championships really became like, okay, this is actually attainable. I'm here. This is what we're going to do.
Yeah, definitely. So it's actually that's amazing. So it's so interesting that someone in our group, he posted a link from abc.com, the article that they wrote about you, and I was surprised because I thought at that week or a couple days before the championship, I interviewed Rabbi Yerushalmi, and I was thinking for sure that's the only Frum person at the Ironman World Championships, and then I see this and I was like, wow, this is incredible. So what was that also like? How was that feeling, like knowing that there's also another Frum person competing and meeting David as well?
Yeah, it was. I was just as surprised, like you say. You were surprised to hear about me. Well, I was surprised to hear about David. And yeah, within after the article went out, probably within about 5 minutes, someone messaged me and they said, "Oh, there's actually someone else doing it also. Here's his number. Reach out to him. He'd love to get in touch." So it was really special, because you understand how special a Sunday race is. You understand, what Ironman involves, and what Kona is on a Shabbos, but to have that on a Sunday, and know that because they announced about 3 months ago that they're not going to hold the World Championships in Nice anymore, so we're going to go back to Kona, and the qualifying is also going to change, where it's now performance based rather than age group based. So with all those changing parts, and it just adds to the specialness of it, and knowing and seeing David there and meeting him in the athlete village and his wife, it was just like, oh wow, I get to do this journey with with another Frum guy, which is something I was never going to forget the journey if it was myself. But we went out for breakfast also. And we've had a connection since now, and it feels like we're good mates.
Nice. That's amazing. That's really, really special.
Yeah, we even spoke about maybe doing a race together in Europe. So
Wow.
watch out.
Wow. That's awesome. If I wanted to ask if you could take us back to like your first Ironman, because I know that there's a lot of training involved. If you could share a little bit with our viewers, how does training look like? And also on top of that, what was the feeling of actually crossing the line in your first Ironman?
Yeah, so when I look at Ironman in general, even these days, I'm not a great swimmer. So the swim has always been something which I've struggled on from an early beginning. And when I look at the first Ironman I did, they have different age groups, and then they have what's called the first timers, and they put them at the end. And that was probably my biggest mistake, going in that group, because you're the last ones to go.
Group. It's a specific group, the first timers. Oh wow.
Yeah, because ultimately, if it's your first time, they want you at the back, so you're not holding people up. But yes, I got in the ocean, and I'm just in my shorts, the same shorts I'm going to ride in, same shorts I'm going to run in. And I get in now. I'm like the last one out of the water. As soon as I get out, the lifeguards get off their little canoes or whatever. And I was thinking, well, what just hit me? It's only a 600 meter swim. But I was like, wow, this is serious. But then got on the bike and just had a regular hybrid flat bar bike. Did the 20 kilometers. And I was like, oh yeah, this is cool. Being able to pass a few people. And then on the run, just starting the run and thinking, okay, it's only 5K. And it's along the beach, 2K, and then you go up to like the main road. And as soon as I went up to the main road, that next kind of 1.5 kilometers was like, oh my God, I don't know what just happened. Like this sport is crazy. I don't know how I'm going to finish this race. But then across the finish line, and it just had this energy, which was like, wow, I want to test the waters. I want to try push a bit more. Let's see what I can do. And then so I progressed. I did Olympic distance triathlon, which is a 1.5 kilometer ocean swim, a 40 kilometer bike ride, and a 10 kilometer run. I did that, and then again I finished that, and I was like, wow, I want to keep pushing myself here. I know I've got something else.
Wow.
But again, I mean, in those early days also, I didn't know much about really the sport, the transitions between the legs, even nutrition. I don't think I had, in the smaller events, I don't really give out anything besides water at the aid stations. So I didn't even really think about, any electrolyte drinks or sports nutrition. I was just so excited and so focused and just doing the racing.
Wow.
So that kind of came and grew. But then when I competed in my first Ironman, so I did a half Ironman also, which is 90 kilometer swim, 1.9 kilometer swim, 90 kilometer bike ride, and a half marathon. So even doing that, thinking back to that race, I think my half marathon time was about 1:48 or something. And in France, my half marathon, I was sitting on 1:40. So when I think about and look back to like where it all started, the training is really important, and it's not all going to happen in one day. It's not all going to happen in 2 days. It's not all going to happen in your first year. It compounds. Your body starts to build up that muscle. It starts to understand the sport better. You start to train a bit smarter. So you got to be patient. That's the biggest thing. And in the early days, I was waking up earlier than I do now. To be able to get down to the pool, do a swim, and then do another session in the afternoon or in the evening, because I really needed that. I was new to the sport. I had to build a really solid base, and it's thank God it's I think of you obviously got to keep the base moving, but I've been able to do that. And doing my first Ironman was, that you can never take away that feeling. But you complete that and you just think, okay, well, there's no reason why. So I don't have any goal of like pushing further, doing any ultra Ironman or anything like that. But you go through all your training and you do that and you go, okay, well, there's no reason why, I can't do that again. And then it's a massive learning experience, but ultimately, yeah, with the training, earlier days, I was definitely doing much more training. And I just look back to my stats of how much training I did for this race, and it was probably one of the least amount of hours, believe it or not,
Really? Wow.
for this race. I also took a month off. I was in Israel for basically the whole of July. So it could have also been good because it helped me freshen up. It did get to a point where the training was also starting to, to get a bit of like, the race is still in 2 or 3 months. There's still a long way to go. You want to try and maintain a really, you're building up this really high level of fitness, so that your body's pushing more than it's used to. So it could have been good having that time off. But yeah, ultimately, like it's no joke when you get to these kinds of distances, especially not being a good swimmer, 3.8 kilometer swim in the ocean. I mean, when you see that the ocean just getting deeper blue, and as you swim offshore, you're you don't want to have any struggles or anything like that. So really important, that you do treat it, with the respect, and make sure that you do the training, but also learn the sport, and understand it, rather than just saying, okay, I'm going to do my first Ironman. It's like, okay, let me get used to it, and start with that sprint triathlon, and learn that training, from the physical, but then also the nutrition side of it, and then that's how I've been able to get to today, and that's going to keep carrying me forward.
Yeah, awesome. I wanted to ask you, how do you manage your time, to make, you have family responsibility, community responsibility, work. How do you manage this? It's a lot of time that's involved for the Ironman training. How do you balance all of it?
Yeah, definitely. So really important, that you do have support around you. My wife is great. She came with me to France. She came with me to both my other races. She's been at all of them. So it's really good to have a supportive partner, but also family. Like they're so important because they have an interest in you, and they have an interest in the sport. They ask you things. They want to be involved. Also, even like just friends and community. So many of them have been asking me about it, um, and they kind of get excited, and it's awesome to see them get excited about it, because it means you're doing something that inspires people, and it's really special to see that. My brother was joking on the 2 weeks ago when around the marathon. We have a group where, like a WhatsApp group of just my brothers, and we post what we're doing, and going for a run and whatnot. And he was joking that his run on that day was like a 15-kilometer run or something, and that my marathon was a quicker time than he did his 15K running. And he was like, oh, just, I was like, don't worry. It's, this is what I want to do, and this is what I've built up to do. And this doesn't reflect on your running at all. Being able to do 15 kilometers is an achievement in its own. Not many people can do that accomplishment, and especially the time that he did it in was very good also. So there's a bit of that, but ultimately they all support me, and like I said, it's really important because when you travel, for us, 24 hours to the opposite side of the world, if I have to do that solo, and then you have the nerves of the race, and then you're in the race, and you've got the finish line, but you don't just want to think about the finish line the whole race. You want to be able to enjoy the race, and having that support, from for every step of the way, really makes the whole journey and the whole experience something which is more than just a finish line. And that's what I found, which was really, really important, and it continues to be important because, Shabbos is no training. Sunday will, if I'm out for 4 or 5 hours, it's not necessarily conducive. If my wife also wants to hang out and do something, so it's about, okay, well, do I need to get up a bit earlier, or when I get back, well, I'm going to be tired, but there's no time for me to be tired because I need to get on with my day. If we're going to go out, if we're going to do something, well, as hard as you want to train on the Sunday, you still got to show up for these other things. So so I think that's where it's important to say, okay, well, if you want to commit yourself to training, that's fine, but still think about your priority. And if family is a priority, which, I think it should always be a priority, then even when you're tired, even when you can't be bothered necessarily, you've just got to show up there and do the best, because ultimately they're the ones who, carry you through, the hard times. And like I said, it's very special having someone support me and be there, especially when I was on the other side of the world.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Do you feel that, like, growing up with so many siblings, it kind of helped with endurance sports?
I mean, like I say, we'd play cricket in the back garden until it's, get home from school, whatever it was, 4 or 5 o'clock, and then in the summer months, sometimes sunset was like 8:30. So have a quick bite of dinner, or not even eat dinner till after, and just spend hours in the back garden. I mean, we'd chase each other around. It was never quiet at home. Did it help shape endurance? I mean, I wouldn't say specifically, and especially at the time. I mean, I didn't really know what endurance was, but definitely, having to stay like ahead, like you don't want to be when you got 10 siblings, you don't want to be the lowest. You want to make sure you're always up there. So
Competition,
so definitely there was and there still is a bit of competitiveness against all of the siblings. But it's a healthy competitiveness.
Yeah, healthy competitive. Yeah, awesome. I wanted to ask you, what role in your training does sleep and nutrition play? And if you could share a
Yes.
little bit about the nutrition, as well as like how important sleep is for this type of performance.
It is so important. And I always love looking at my watch in the morning. I've got a Garmin, and looking at the sleep report, and looking at my body battery, and doing all of that. Because especially sometimes, you don't think you necessarily got a good sleep, but ultimately, I mean, the technology, it's not always 100%, but it's also a bit of reassurance to say, okay, well, I can hit that hard session today. I actually am well rested. Why am I a bit tired? Because 2 days ago I just did a 4-hour session, and I went pretty hard. So so it is really important that the way that you structure the training fits a schedule where you have enough time to recover, but then also have your hard sessions. So you don't want your hard sessions to be too hard that it pushes out the next day of your training. So it's finding that right balance, but so important. I mean, try to get 7, 8, 9 hours sleep every night, and you feel the difference. I mean, it's your body needs that ability to recover, And that's where, I mean, the sleep is where your muscles basically are going to get all their relaxation from. So I found that really important with the nutrition. This is, it's a game changer if you get it right, especially for endurance events. Because you got to be real disciplined. You've just got to trust that your body needs it, even though you feel really good at the time. You don't want it to push out by 5 or 10 minutes and then take it. And then in the meantime, you've depleted whatever it is in that time. And then it's just harder and harder to recover. And the longer you go, well, your body naturally is going to tear down. So it doesn't matter what you put in it. It's not made to go that long, but you're fueling it so that it can go, and perform at the highest possible performance for as long as possible. So really important to put together a nutrition plan, understand your body, what your body needs, especially when it comes to sleep. Some people, function really well, maybe of 5-6 hours sleep. I knew my body needs around that 8-hour mark. And I could kind of feel when I didn't get it. I didn't get it every night. But yeah, when you do get it, your body's nicely recovered. And with the nutrition, experimenting before the race, in the months leading up to it, how you're going to take the nutrition, what works best with you, how does your body respond to that nutrition, because on race day, even as much as you test it out, I mean, you're taking on even more, and you never do. I never did an 11 and a half hour training session before. But if you practice all of that, then it should put you in good stead. But with recovery also, like I said, everyone's body is different. So some people will love the compression boot. Some people will love their massage guns. Some people, need massages every week. So there's no right answer to what's the best way to recover. I think you have to find what works for you. Some people, swear by ice baths. If they don't do an ice bath, then it's really a personal thing. But like you said, the big one is the sleep. Finding out how much sleep you need. How does your body perform at its peak? And then that nutrition, what's actually the best thing for your gut to absorb, but then also how much can you take in when you're doing an ultra endurance event, because taste also plays a part. If you're eating or drinking the same thing for 11 hours straight, well, if you never practice having it over even a 4 or 5 hour day, then you don't want to just surprise yourself and be like, well, it tastes so bad, I don't even want to have it. So you've really got to think about that with the nutrition, just trialing it out for those reasons.
Yeah, definitely. Do you have days where you just don't want to do the workouts, and if you do, how do you overcome that?
Yeah, definitely. It's always hard, especially in Melbourne, the weather's not always so crash hot. It was also winter, basically. So training wasn't always just sunshine and beautiful weather, but then also, your body gets to a point where it also, you've pushed it pretty hard in certain sessions, and then you wake up the next day and you're like, well, we've got to go again. So that's where it comes important around structuring your sessions, and being sensible with how you let your body recover between the harder days and the easier days. And that's where I found, so especially with Sunday was a big training day. Then Monday, I would be in the pool, so that way, you're not stressing your joints. Swimming isn't easy, but it's a way to get kind of an active recovery, and still getting a good swim workout. To be able to do that, and then Tuesday, the body was ready to push harder again, and then Wednesday, Thursday also have some really solid sessions. But then by the time I got to Friday, the body was like, okay, well, you need that swim again. You need to, you need that active recovery, but also, you don't want to miss a session because your body is tired. But also, getting out of bed isn't necessarily the easiest thing, even when you're fresh. It's cozy. It's especially during the winter months. But just thinking in my mind, well, I'm getting out of bed now, but I'm not necessarily doing the session right now. When I need to do the session throughout the day, I'll get to it, but don't worry about that. Worry about that when it's time to put your runners on. For now, I'm just getting out of bed. I'm starting my day, like don't let that bother you. I mean, I say that, but it's still in the back of your mind, even when you got like a 45-minute session, and it's like, 10-minute warm up on, you're running 10-minute warm up, and then you're like, okay, it's only 10 minutes, and then okay, what's the next step? 20 minutes at threshold pace, 2-minute recovery, 15 minutes at threshold, and then like a cool down, and you're like, okay, well, you're like, okay, let's just get out, start with it. You'll be able to hit the session, but incrementalize it. Just start your day when the session starts. But till then, don't worry about it.
Yeah. So from your experience, there's of course a lot of physical benefits of getting to this level of fitness, or in general taking care of your health. But what are some of the mental benefits that you've seen, like in terms of like clarity of mind, focus, maybe feeling less stressed? Could you share about that as well?
Yeah, definitely. It's I mean, the currency that the pain that you endure is that mental, you basically get that mental toughness built up, and it just makes everything so much easier. Like you feel that, well, if I can push that hard and do all those things, well, what it translates into all other parts of life where things are just like, okay, like we make deals and issues out of things that are almost non-issues, and like we say, don't sweat the small stuff. Like to me, what becomes hard is those hard sessions. They're on my mind, like they're hard, but the day-to-day work and things like that, well, they can bring a bit of stress and whatnot, but it's like, okay, it's just a bit of work, I know what I need to get done. So definitely, having that mental toughness that translates into all other aspects. But it's also when you do train and you feel fit, you just feel excellent. Your breathing is just easy. You're able to function without being out of breath. There's you go upstairs and it's just okay going upstairs. It's not you walk up a hill and it's like, okay, it's a bit steep, but it's okay, because you see, I mean, a lot of people struggle, or they'll never take the steps, so they'll always take an elevator, and things like that. So you just feel really good. Everything you do. I even I was in Israel a few times, but the first time post October 7, we donated some blood, and the guy who was before you donate blood, they check a few things, and he's like, he looks at me and he's like, "You're an athlete." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He says, "No one has this reading on the
Wow.
machine." And
Wow.
I was like, wow, he was the first person to call me an athlete. I was like, wow, that's very special. Um,
He was able to
but
see that just from the blood.
no, from the numbers that they whatever he ran before, like
Wow.
in the test,
Wow.
um, and you like I say, you feel it, and it just makes everything in life just so much easier.
Wow, that's awesome. That's amazing. Yeah, definitely. I've also noticed in my life, like when I started to run, things that used to bother me. It's like as you mentioned, like the hard part of your life becomes those hard trainings or hard runs. Everything else just becomes easier, which is beautiful.
Yeah, and I also found like if something's stressful, like really bothering me at work, um, if I just get up off my desk and go for a run and clear my mind, I'm able to come back and everything's just clear, and then you get back and you're just able to finish your day and work everything out. There was a bit of stress, but it was caused because of who even knows what it. Um,
Yeah,
and that's what you find that it brings about like a meditation where you're just able to put everything else, shut everything else out. I don't listen to any music or anything like that because in the race you're not allowed earphones. So
yeah, it's not allowed, right?
yeah,
It's not
because you're not
allowed.
allowed any outside help or anything like that.
Mm.
So they don't let you use earphones. And also I think just for safety. Um, so,
Very.
so I used to listen to some podcasts when I'd ride in the early days or music, and I actually got my first Garmin was 245 music specifically to have music. But then once I was riding my bike and the earphones just ran out of battery, and then I took them off, and it was just so nice to listen to my surroundings and hear my own breath, and then from there I just stopped taking earphones and just enjoying it, especially being away from work, putting the phone away and just having this time where you're able to breathe fresh air and just relax and take in the surroundings. So it
Yeah,
just calms everything down.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Okay, so I want to transition a little bit to like practical advice for people listening. We have different listeners in their health journey, in their fitness journey. So for someone that feels that they may be a little bit, out of shape, what would you tell them to be like their first steps in terms of starting, their fitness journey or the health journey?
Well, first of all, if you're listening, you've already probably taken the first step. It means you're interested. You want to do something which is so important. What is going to motivate you next? Well, you've almost got to start to find something within you to find out what motivates you. What do you actually enjoy? So with this whole journey that I'm on with triathlon, like I say, I don't love swimming, but when I do go to the pool, I learn to enjoy it. When you're going out for a ride, well, you ride out to areas where you wouldn't necessarily go to, so it becomes an experience. You set a goal of competing in a race. Well, what are you going to do to get to the race? So you set the goal and then work backwards. So first find out, well, do you like walking? Awesome. We'll set a goal. What do you want to achieve in walking? And it doesn't need to be big. It doesn't need to be like whatever the goal is. If you want to tell people about it, it's a great way to stay accountable. And they'll ask you, "Oh, how are you going with that walking goal?" Um, if you want to keep it just personal, that's great. If you're accountable like that, then that's also good. Um, but the biggest thing is, life is full of choices. Like you wake up in the morning and you have a choice. Do I want to get out of bed today, or do I not want to get out of bed? And then if you get out of bed, well, it's like, okay, well, what am I going to do next? Um, And if you make good choices, you turn around and you look at your day and you say, okay, well, I feel accomplished. I feel like I've done something and I've made a difference. If you want to stay in bed, you can stay in bed, but then, like I say, when you turn around the end of the day and you think, what have you accomplished? Well, maybe you're happy with that. I mean, I don't think most people are, because human nature is we want to grow. We want to get better every day. We want to do something. So, like I said, find something that you resonate with. Try different things out, if need be. You don't necessarily you don't want to push yourself too hard in the beginning, where you don't want to feel like it's a burden. So set the bar very kind of within reach, something that's within reach, but it's still a bit of a stretch. Um, and like I say, just have fun with it, because if you have fun with it, you'll look forward to doing it every single day, and you'll feel so accomplished. You look back, and even in a busy day, we can always find time. Even if it's 5 or 10 minutes, 5 or 10 minutes is more than you were doing before or weren't doing before. And you look back and you say, "Oh wow, I was able to do that." And then, like you said, you just want to keep growing and just keep being the best version of who you can be. And I mean, for a lot of people, they'll say, okay, well, I mean, I didn't have any children yet, so I do have a bit more flexibility, not having kids. But it's there's always excuses. If you need to take the kids to school, pick them up, make lunches, do reading, all that, there's always something, and there's solutions to everything. So what's your solution? You don't have to go outside to train. You can get a lot of indoor equipment. And most houses have stairs. You can use your stairs. You can just use your house. You can even playing with the kids. That's a form of activity. So like I say, you don't need to shoot the lights out and just decide you're doing an Ironman. Find something that resonates with you. Set the bar at a place where it's achievable, and it's something that you enjoy doing. And if you can keep yourself accountable by telling other people what you do, or even if it's one of your kids, saying, "Oh, why don't we go on a walk together, or why don't we go on a jog together?" And then they come up to you after school and say, "Hey, when are we going?" Like you said, we're going to go on a 5-minute jog or a 20-minute bike ride or something, and all of a sudden they're keeping you accountable.
Definitely.
You can take them with the scooters, go around the block, or there's endless opportunity. But you've got to find that motivation, because no one else can motivate you. You can listen to these podcasts, you can read as many books as you want, watch as many motivational videos. But the only one who's going to motivate yourself is yourself, by setting an achievable goal and doing something that you enjoy doing.
Yeah, definitely. And you mentioned about kids and how, that could be an excuse, but it's also like once you get into prioritizing your health, fitness, the children also see it. Your kids see that and they get inspired by that. And I've seen that firsthand. My kids, they're like 4 and 3, but every time I come back from a run or a bike ride, they're all excited. They're like asking me about it. They want to, run with me. And there was someone in the group who said that he unexpectedly had to be with his kid, and he had like a 20K run or something planned. So he took a stroller and he ran the whole 20Ks with, as you mentioned, like there could always be excuses, but if something is important, we'll figure out how to make it happen. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, definitely. Okay. So I wanted to also ask, what do you think has been for you personally, like the greatest lesson you've learned from completing, the Ironman World Championship race?
So when it comes to these kinds of things, like what I love to tell people and how we started off was it was never the dream to complete the World Championship Ironman, or let alone an Ironman. It was that first triathlon, and then go to a bigger distance. Then I ran a half marathon. Then I did a half Ironman. So it really, kept growing, and pushing that bar, a bit higher and whatnot. And the lesson I found was that nothing is impossible. And what I think, and I tell people also, is that all of us, we're not born great. No one comes out of the womb and all of a sudden they're going to be an Olympic gold medalist. So we're not born great, but we are born for greatness. And what do we want to do with our abilities? What do we want to do with the blessings that Hashem gives us? It's infinite, So it's really understanding that nothing's off limits. You're able to do anything as long as you lock in, you put your mind to it, and you say you're going to do it. Nothing is impossible. So that's the biggest lesson that I've found from this. And like we said, when it comes to day-to-day life, before it makes everything more of a breeze to get through and accomplish so much, because you realize that nothing actually is impossible. You can do everything, and you can do them well also. Yes, you need to put in hard work. Things are not just going to happen for themselves, but you are born for greatness.
Yeah, beautiful. I wanted to ask, you mentioned that you, Baruch Hashem, have stayed overall like injury free. How do you maintain that? And what would you recommend to people that are running or trying also to stay, for the most part, injury free?
Yeah, so I think that especially in triathlon, it's really important to, when you're going up like to bigger distances, to understand how hard you can push your body, within being like reasonable. So, if you're just going to go from 0 to 100, I mean, you're probably not doing it right, and your body's going to say, well, I'm not used to doing this, and something's going to go wrong. If you build it up and slowly build up your base and really get the fundamentals right, and start to learn and understand what your body needs. Some people may need to stretch more. Like I said, some people may need the ice bath. Some people may need compression. Some people may need massages. It's really individualized. And the nutrition also. I mean, you just have a look at how many different brands are out there, and nutrition-wise, and also recovery-wise, because there's no one size fits all.
Yeah.
You've got to find that. But then, like I said, structuring my training that after those harder days, if I'm in the pool and I'm swimming, it's a lower impact on my joints. So I'm letting my body recover while still training. So it's training smarter, setting up your schedule like that, because your body is also not made for ultra endurance, or at least, I mean, the way that it's adapted to today. I mean, we all sit at desks. Almost all of us sit at desks. A lot of things, within walking distance next door, the cafes next door, the shopping centers next door, or we drive.
You don't even have to get up. Everything's delivered.
Yeah, exactly. So whereas, hundreds of years ago, it was, well, if you wanted to get water, not even hundreds of years ago, you had to walk down to, to get it. So now the way that we kind of built is like, we're not really built for exercise necessarily. So that's why when we do seek it out, we got to be smart, and think about, okay, well, let my body build and morph into where I want to be over a period of time, rather than just wanting to do it all in 1 or 2 days, because When you do that, that's where you risk injury, because you're exerting your body when it's not made to do that. So really respect your body, listen to your body, and try different things out, because that's where you'll understand, well, okay, my body responds to this, it doesn't respond to that. Maybe if I mix the two, it'd be really good. It's important to stretch also, to get your body warmed up. Respect the warm up. It's really important. But then also, having running, cycling, and swimming. If you're not always, if your goal is just to run, then ultimately you're always on your feet. So here, if I'm on my feet maybe 2 days a week, and on the bike 3 days a week, and then in the pool, that way my body's also using all different kinds of joints, not just the same, joints every single day, day in, day out. So I think that also helps a bit also.
Yeah. That's true. I wanted to ask you about people maybe in the community or your family that has been inspired by your journey. Have you seen that it's been, inspiring people to take their health or their fitness, seriously?
Yeah. So I mean, I have people that come up to me and they say, "Oh, I've thought about doing this run or that run, or this event or that event," and it's almost like they want to tell me about what they're doing, which is awesome, because they feel like a bit of it, like they want some validation, but also they want to share it with someone who's done it before, have that shared experience, give them some tips, know that that reassurance that they are going to perform well, and they're going to do a good job. But even after the race, I was in the bakery, in kosher bakery in Nice, and there was met a boy, an American boy, and he was like, I'm just in awe. Like, I decided I want to do an Ironman in 2 years' time. After seeing the race, the streets were just buzzing. We also we went down to the beach the next day, and there was a group of girls there, and they were saying they're at the finish line also, and that they're running 5 kilometers, and they thought like, wow, this is crazy. And it's just reassuring them that you got to think about it. Most people don't run 5 kilometers,
Right. Yeah.
So you're doing a great job. Even a taxi driver, he was asking us about the race when he took us to the airport, and he said, "Oh, I only run 10 kilometers a day." And I'm like, "You only run 10 kilometers a day is massive."
Pretty good for a taxi driver.
Yeah. So I mean, people want to share, like I say, people want to share with you what they're doing, because when you're in that environment, it's always good to get feedback, get validation, share your goals. But yeah, ultimately, I mean, there was a lot of people who reached out, through social media, but even just being in shul, and whatnot. People come up to you, and you don't even know necessarily that they've read your article, or they've seen what's going on, but they come up to you and say, Shkoyach, you've done a great job, you're an inspiration, and they start to think, okay, well, what can I do? Am I doing something? And that's where that's where I want to inspire people to go on their personal journey, and do what they can to start or continue their fitness goals, and really feel good and perform at their best.
Yeah, definitely. So I have a question, maybe maybe a bit controversial. I don't know if it is, it isn't, but do you think that Frum communities should invest more into health and like a fitness infrastructure? And if yes, like what do you think that would look like?
I think it is a tough one, because when it comes to the Frum community, it's people also want, if you're going to start investing in infrastructure, people want separate men and women. But then it's hard, because, for example, if you have maybe one swimming pool or one gym, and then you want to separate them and the times don't necessarily work out. It makes it a bit more complicated like that. I think, I mean, having infrastructure like that would be awesome, and I think it'd be amazing to invest in that. But I think you've got to kind of, it's awesome to have it, but start at home. Think about, what can you do now where you are to get moving. Don't wait for big infrastructure and big investments and things like that, because who knows, if they would come, and then, like I say, when they come, well, it'd be quite limited, because ultimately that's the idea. You'd have, you'd probably have a mixed time, separate times, and then, if the times didn't align, or you didn't want to be there, with during the mixed time, but that was your best time, then what would that look like for you? So I think it could get dicey like that, unless you had enough money where you're building the facilities that everyone can use them at the same time. Because that's what you find these days, that free time is it's scarce throughout the day, but it's there. So some people might find it in the morning, some people might find it late morning, especially with working from home schedules and things like that. But yeah, so like I say, it would be awesome to have ultimately, and even just to speak about it, having WhatsApp groups, that kind of infrastructure, it really does motivate people, especially when when the weather's good, you see everyone posts and everyone out and about. But when it's the weather's not as good, that's where, if someone else posts, then they see, oh, you know what, it's actually, maybe it's not that bad out there. Maybe I can go out there, and that's where you can really motivate people. So it doesn't necessarily need to be in a gym, just a WhatsApp group, and like I said before, being accountable. So, when you do go to shul and someone asks you, oh, by the way, how's that goal going? What's the training like and stuff? You need to have an answer for them. So you need to come prepared.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Yisroel, it's really been a pleasure. You are definitely a huge inspiration for many, and I want to wish you a lot of continued tzlacha in all you do. And thank you so much for doing this podcast.
No worries. Well, thank you for taking the time also. I hope you all enjoyed it. And if anyone ever has any questions, they can always reach out to me. I'm on Instagram, YRosey, YROSEY. You can follow along my journey, or like I say, if you have any questions. And I hope I've been able to enlighten you a bit about my journey and what I've done up until now. And like I say, the goals are great, but it's all about a journey. It's all about enjoying it. And because race day, you can wake up and who knows how you'll feel on race day. Who knows what the conditions will be like. And that's why you've really got to enjoy the journey. So all the best. Good luck.
Thank you.
Get started. Thanks a lot, Mendel.
Awesome. Thank you.